right? Later I'm talking alone, yeah. Let me just see the index, okay? So this is the one that we were doing just now, okay? Benko, okay? So this question I want you to do it on your own. Try. I'll give you the answer. Yeah, after the class, I'll upload it in the TYMBA Flex there. Okay. And Mumbai question is actually okay. BPP. Okay, then later I'll put it in. Okay. So now we want to look at proofs. Okay, proofs on acceptance, assurance for social and environmental information. Okay. So let's go look at the question. Yeah. So this one, please try on your own. Answer will be provided. Okay. So now look at proofs group. Yeah. Yeah. This one, please do on your own first. Try on your own because it's very similar to Benko. Okay. So if you understood Benko, you should be able to apply the same technique to answer this. And there is one part is very similar answer to Benko. So okay. So please do this question. Yeah. Now look at proofs group. Okay. Okay. So now it is 1st July 2005. You are a manager in the audit department of Pegasus and Co., a firm of chartered certified accountants. So you are assigned to audit the group which has a financial year ending 30th September 2005, and it is a listed entity. Okay, so it's a group of company and it is a listed company. Yeah, Pegasus Co. was appointed to be their auditor in January 2005. So it is it is a new client. Okay, and the new client is also listed. Yeah, so the group operates in a travel industry, offering a selection of worldwide itineraries and has a fleet of 20 cruise ships. The group operates 3 brands which provide different type of cruise. Okay, so this is actually a question one. It's a huge question, but I extracted what is relevant for acceptance and ethics only. Okay, so during the meeting, evaluate the matter to be considered in deciding whether Pegasus Co. should accept the engagement to provide advice on the group social and environmental information. So they are asking us to evaluate matters to consider in deciding whether to accept or not. Okay, so obviously they are asking us on non-audit services. Okay, so non-audit services, and this one is for your audit client. Okay, so if it is a non-audit services and it is for our audit client already, the points that I will be thinking about will be obviously is on competence. Do I have competence to provide this social and environmental information assurance? Advice or not? Capabilities. Now that I'm doing the audit, yeah, can I actually can I provide the service in terms of am I capable of doing it? The size of the advice. Okay. Currently with the current comments, and can I meet the deadline? Okay, so then I'm going to also discuss about the ethical factor. Okay, so whether I have conflict of interest, it is more of unlikely. Okay, because of the fact that this is same client. Yeah, I am not conflict of interest is normally if we are providing or we are accepting a job which is competitors for our current client, or we having some internal benefit of doing it. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about conflict of interest here. I'll discuss about objectivity. Okay, so the fact that social and environmental information, okay, will it be published in audit report or not? Is it something that, all non-audit services, right? Majority of non-audit services is going to give rise to self-review threat. Okay. In this case, will the social and environmental information give rise to self-review threat? Do we see social and environmental information anywhere in the annual report? A social and environmental information is going to be something. Hello? Yeah, is it going to be part of your financial statement information? No? Okay. So just in case, you are feeling confused, social and environmental information is some kind of KPI. Okay. So key performance indicators. Now, do we have key performance indicator information anywhere in the audit report? No idea? Don't have, isn't it? But where do we present these figures? Annual report. Yes, correct. Only in the annual report, but not in the audit report. Okay. So now correct, yeah. So we might see this in the annual report. Okay. So if there is something that we are advising on is in the annual report, will it give rise to any kind of self-review threat or not? Self-review threat. Okay. Now you remember that we have responsibility as an auditor to read, okay, and then we supposed to read what? The other information. And for us to identify, yes, we're supposed to read, okay, so we read the other information, and after we read the other information, what we need to do, we have to respond to it. Okay, we have to respond to it because we want to identify if there is any material inconsistency. Okay, now assuming I am the one who is advising them on the social and environmental information, there is likely that I might not perform this responsibility in detail. Okay, because there's no point I read other information because I already I'm the one who advised. So it might be a self-review threat, but it is on this perspective. Okay, so now other than ethical issue, I am not going to talk about integrity because this client is already an audit client because I would have already done my integrity test. Okay. I'm not going to talk about because it's a non-audit service, I don't need to discuss on. Where was I? Okay, so sorry, yeah, because I got disconnected. It was, I'm not sure, internet problem, yeah. Okay, so now coming back to this, okay. So now a meeting took place yesterday in which the audit engagement partner discussed several issues, okay. So the group audit committee has inquired whether the Pegasus Co can provide additional service, okay. So additional service to advise management on how to measure certain social and environmental information, which is to be published in the group website and is required by the new regulation in the industry, okay. So number one, I am not sure because they only say measure certain. So I don't know about the size of the social and environmental information that they want me to provide, yeah. Secondly, which is going to be published in the group website. So it is likely going to be included in annual report also, and currently it's a requirement in a regulation in the industry, okay, and it's required to be submitted to regulatory authorities, okay. Now, are they providing assurance? Are they requesting us to provide assurance or advise them how to do?
Advice.
Yeah, advice only. So which means you say this, yeah.
No, it's okay, just continue.
Now, yeah, because they are asking us to advise, right? So we might want to consider, is there any requirement for assurance, because it need to be submitted to regulatory authorities eventually, okay? So the social and environmental information relate to matters such as, okay, so again, yeah, they are not making things clear. We don't know the size, yeah. So relate to matters such as water efficiency, energy consumption, charitable donation and initiatives which support diversity at workplace. But they did not, such as means is seperti only, yeah, okay, but not really like a full set of items, okay? So it, in a recognition that this work is quite urgent. So which means I want to discuss this, whether I can meet the deadline or not, as the deadline for submission to the regulatory authorities fall within the next month. Okay. So the audit committee has stated it is willing to pay an enhanced fee for this services. Okay. So enhanced fee means I want to think of, okay, now they're going to be paying me more. Is it going to exceed, you know, like, is it going to be undue, not undue, is it going to be exceeding my total fee? Like, is it going to exceed the 15%? Okay. So that one is aside. But now important things to consider is whether I have the competence or not. Okay. But the fact that I have no clear guidance into what is actually they want, I am not sure whether I'm competent or not. Okay. So because they are only asking us to evaluate. Okay, evaluate means I want to consider the factors to discuss. Okay, I mean consider the factors whether I want to accept or not. Okay, that is one. Number two, when you talk about capabilities, I'm not sure about the size. They have not talked about the scope of my work. Okay, and then availability of the staff we can discuss that in another point. And they also mentioned it's quite urgent. They say the deadline is next month, and I don't know whether once I advise whether they need to go through any assurance process or not. So if it does, then I have to do it even more faster because I have to do it faster to advise, and then they have to go to assurance stage, and then they need to go and submit it. So all these need to happen in next month. So it is quite a tight deadline. Okay, so these are the things that we want to discuss, and the fact that they will put it in the group website, we can talk about the information part and self-review thread. And what are the points that we can talk about here? Okay, the fees. We can also talk about the fees. Okay, so we have to write for 10 marks. So now, because we have very limited time, let's go and do it quickly. Okay, so now let's go and look at the crooks. Okay, so yeah, why I cannot go? Okay. Okay, so crooks group. Okay, so this is part C of the question. Okay, so now let's go and talk about the first one, yeah, competence. Okay, so first of all, we want to say, yeah, crooks requested, okay, requested Pegasus to advise on how to measure, okay, so how to measure certain social and environmental indicators. Okay, so which is actually the KPIs, yeah. Okay, so now some of these indicators. Okay, so some of these indicators may be specialized. Okay, specialized and difficult to be measured. Okay, so difficult to be measured, difficult to measure, yeah. Okay, so the firm may not have the required skills. Okay, may not have the required skills, and we want to say about the ACCA code. Okay, so ACCA code states that, okay, so state that an assignment should not be accepted. Okay, so should not be accepted if the firm does not have the required skills. Okay, so we also want to say the firm may need to engage, okay, with external, maybe, yeah, we're not sure, external expert if there is lack of skills. Okay, so to confirm, okay, why I want to put on the confirm, right? Because we also need to tell, like, I'm evaluating the matter, right? So I should also say, like, okay, now that I am considering this factor, okay, what are my additional information that I want? Okay, so to confirm, okay, so to confirm the specific, okay, so specific types of KPIs required by the regulation. Okay, so because they are doing it also for the regulation, yeah, regulation for the cruise industry. So I'll continue. Okay, I don't know. I normally I'm using time, but shouldn't have problem. But now I connect with my own phone one, yeah. Okay, so now I was talking about competence, right? Now let's move on to capabilities. Okay, capabilities, remember we want to talk about three things, right? Whether the size of it, the availability of staff, and also the deadline. Okay, so now let's go and talk about the deadline because that's the most obvious one in this situation. Yeah, so KPIs. Okay, so the KPIs to be submitted to regulators. Okay, so to the regulators in August. Okay, so now it is 1st July. Okay, and the KPIs must be measured. Okay, must be measured quickly. Okay, so must be measured quickly. Deciding on how to measure. Okay, so deciding on how to measure the KPI. Okay, maybe some are not straightforward. Okay, maybe, yeah, we are not sure. Maybe some are not straightforward, and because of that, it may take longer time. Okay, so and for the fact that there is no international standards for it. Standard for measuring them. This makes the engagement work. Okay, so like a little bit not very clear for us, yeah. Okay, so now what we need to do is to confirm with crooks. Okay, so we want to confirm with crooks how many. Okay, so how many KPIs are required by the new regulation. Okay, so what is required by the new regulation? More KPIs means the engagement will take up more time. Okay, so what we need to do is to find out from crooks. Okay, so we'll find out from crooks whether the regulators, okay, so the regulators requires the KPIs, okay, be accompanied by assurance. Okay, so by assurance report and so that Sorry. And if so, who will provide the assurance? Okay. So we want to find out all this because they are asking us to discuss on methods to consider. Okay. So now to consider whether the firm have staff to spare for this engagement without jeopardizing, okay, so the firm's ability to meet the obligation of the current client. Okay, so basically we are talking about the fact that can we meet the we don't know the size, okay, so because we don't know how to measure, we don't know the size of it, but we know it is going to take up more time, okay, so we want to know whether we can meet the deadline or not, and whether we have the availability of the staff. Okay, so now we need to consider more KPI means more engagement. The engagement will take more time, and the firm to confirm, okay, if the deadline mentioned, okay, can be met. Okay, so these are on capabilities. Okay, now once we have discussed about capabilities, we can go and discuss on ethical issues. Okay, so on ethical issues, the main one is two things. Okay, one is self-review threat. Second one is they're asking us to advise. So whenever they ask us to advise, we want to worry that can it cause us or can it create a management decision threat or not. Okay, so now let's go and talk about the ethical issue. Yeah, the assignment is to provide advice. Okay, so advice on how to measure certain KPIs. Okay, so this is how to measure certain KPI. It is likely that Crooks does not have in-house staff, okay, with the required competence to do this. Okay, because it's a new regulation. Okay, unlikely they're going to have experts very fast. Okay, so then potentially management decision threat. Okay, so management decision threat in that, okay, in that Crooks may take all the advice and use it without any input. Okay, so without their own contributions, yeah, without any input on their own. Okay, so this is very dangerous, yeah, and therefore therefore it will be seen as the firm has made the decision, okay, on behalf of Crooks. Okay, so on behalf of Crooks, yeah, and firm should not make any decision on behalf of the client. Okay, so ideally we have to consider this fact. Okay, so what we should do, our safeguard for this is the firm should document. Okay, so we have mentioned this before, yeah. Okay, so document the existence of informed management. Okay, so you must have informed management to oversee. Okay, so to oversee work by work by the firm and evaluate the recommendation to ensure they comply with the new regulation. Okay, so basically I'm telling that now that they're asking me to provide advice and I don't think they have enough staff, so it's going to potentially increase the risk that I am going to make a management decision threat. Okay, so probably they just take everything that I say, so which is not good. Okay, so I mean not to say not good, which is going to be a threat for us. Yeah, so what we're going to do as a safeguard is we want to document the existence of informed management. So which means I ask them to sign and say that you are aware that I am only advising, I am not doing the management decision, you going to make the decision. I am only going to tell to you, oh, if you do this, this will happen. If you do this, this will happen. I am not the boss. Okay, so I want to tell that, and that will be my safeguard. Okay, now second one is on the self-review threat. Okay, so the KPIs Okay, so the KPIs will be published. Okay, will be published in the group website. Okay, so they're going to publish this in the group website and being listed. Okay, so being listed, crooks may include this. Okay, sorry, may include this same KPIs. Okay, so same KPIs in its annual report. Okay, so now it's getting dangerous. Sorry. Okay, so self review. This will this will give rise to self review thread. Okay, so why I want to say it's a self review thread, because it's a other information. Okay, so self review thread at the final audit stage. Okay, so as I want to put that in that. In that, so in that the firm is unlikely. Okay, so unlikely to be critical or skeptical. Okay, over the KPIs. Okay, so over the KPIs that the other team have helped to measure. Okay, other team means other team in the firm. Okay, so firm to confirm. Okay, so firm to confirm whether this KPIs. Okay, so whether these KPIs will also be published in the annual report. Okay, so to ask, so when if they say yes, the auditor is responsible to read, respond, three area to read, respond, and report. Okay, on other information. Okay, so because of that factor, because crooks is listed. Okay, and also because of quality risk. Okay, so why I want to say quality risk is because if KPIs are included, okay, so are included in the annual report. Okay, so an engagement quality reviewer, reviewer should be booked. Okay, should be booked to ensure that the audit team, okay, so ensure that the audit team have properly read the annual report to identify. Okay, so to identify whether whether there are inconsistencies, okay, or misleading information in the KPIs. Okay, so that is on ethical issue. Okay, one last point on commercial consideration. Okay, commercial considerations. Okay, that's on the fees. Okay, so the requirement. Okay, so the requirement for the engagement. So the requirement for the engagement is because crooks is subjected to industry regulation. Okay, so industry regulation, and that is why there is KPIs. Okay, KPIs. Okay, so KPIs need to be measured. Okay, so there is a possibility. Okay, so there is possibility that if Pegasus is unable to provide the service, okay, as it is currently urgent, okay, probably what would they do? They are in need. Okay, so they go and ask us to help them out because we are the auditor and we probably can do the KPI service, okay, and advise them. Now if it is urgent, right, and if you don't want to help them when they are in need, Okay, what do you think they will do from commercial perspective? Anybody want to tell to me? Yeah. If someone is asking you for help when they are in need, yeah, and you don't want to help them, what will happen to your relationship with them? Nothing will happen, is it? Yeah, yes, yeah, the relationship will be broken. So in audit firm perspective, what will happen? Probably the audit engagement. Okay, so on the other hand, yeah, audit engagement with Pegasus will be terminated. Okay, I'll rather go and find an auditor who will help me on this service and also will provide me audit services. Like they might do that. Yeah, so that's a possibilities. Okay, so due to that reason, to consider if it is profitable. Okay, if it's profitable for the firm to provide. Okay, so to provide the service and only accept the engagement if there is reasonable fee and the firm can have continuous service opportunity. Okay. So we have discussed about, okay, let me just, okay, maybe you can type it out first and I'll tell to you, yeah. Okay, so now let's just run through. Okay, so we had this competence that we discussed on. Okay, and then we had this capabilities that we discussed on. Okay, and then on ethical issue, and finally which is on the commercial consideration. Okay, so how you will get marked, you want to know. Yeah, okay, so for competence, right, you in the answer here we discuss about the fact that we have to consider how to measure it. Okay, and we mentioned that ACCA code say it should not accept it if the firm does not have the required skill. Okay, so this is about 1 mark. So the firm may need to engage with the external expert if there is a lack of skills and to confirm. Yeah, so this point here is about 2 marks that you will be able to earn because you are doing some evaluation. Okay, now next one on capabilities. Capabilities is actually you mentioned, I mean, like here it's mentioned about how to measure, about the deadline, and also about the staff. Okay, so approximately it's also about 2 marks also. Okay, so ethics is definitely about okay, here is we mentioned about management decision, potential management decision threat. Okay, so that this too is about 4 to 5 marks. Okay, so now ethical threat is management decision. For you to mention it, it's already 1 mark. Okay, so for you to suggest a safeguard, this is another 1 mark. Okay, and then you mention and then when we mention about self-review threat, that's 1 mark. Okay, and also mentioning about the issue with it, right? Okay, so this is also another 1 mark. Okay, because you want to suggest to book a EQR. Okay, so about 7 marks there. Okay, wait, not 7. It's about 9 marks already. So we have left with 1 more point and we can put a commercial consideration fact. Okay, so now anyone have any question on the Crookes group or not? No? If don't have, I want to go and look into the next topic already. Okay, so now let me just glance through with you. Okay, so we have already done the Benko in the class just now. The Crookes also we have done. So I will provide you with the answer for Mumbai, Tractor, and also the Broadway. Okay, now I want you to look at fraud. Okay, so there is another document for fraud. Can you go and take it out? We will go and run through on fraud. Are you all okay so far? Fraud. Okay, we'll see how fast we can cover a little bit more. Yeah. Okay, so now look at fraud. Okay, right? There are quite a number of you, and then you all are not responding. Next class, I go and ask questions. Okay, is it? Okay. Okay, now let's go and look at fraud. Okay, so fraud questions can be examined in your section. Can be examined in your section A. Can be examined in your section B of the question also. Okay, so fraud, it's considered as you can have technique to answer it. Yeah. Okay, so now let me just go through with you what are the techniques that is suitable for you to apply. Hold on, yeah. It's my. Never mind. Okay, now let's go and see the rationale behind this type of question. Okay, so when you talk about fraud, you already know fraud is can be done by, okay, can be by the management, can be by the employee also. Okay, so now when you think of why what they are looking out for is, or what's the rationale of asking this type of question in the exam, is that they want you to be able to identify, okay, identify about the fraud, okay, identify this is a fraud, or identify the possibilities of a fraud in a case, okay, and once you have identified, how you should respond to it. Okay, so how you want to respond to it, and there is also possibilities of fraud is asking you what is the limitation of fraud. Okay, so now when I talk about respond, right, probably it's in the form of procedures. They may ask you on procedures. Okay, now how do you know it is a fraud question? In most of the time, they make it very clear. They'll make it clear that the fraud is already been discovered, is either by the client or by the auditor. Okay, now the way that you want to answer, do you have responsibility in terms of prevention of fraud as an auditor? Do you have responsibility to prevent fraud?
No, it lies with the management.
Yes, correct. Okay, so this one we cannot involve. Yeah, I mean, like how we want to do, we come in to audit, it's already happened. So how can we take up the prevention role? Can we take up? I mean, are we in the role of deterrence? Yeah, can we deter the what is this? Deter the fraud from happening. Deterrence means can you like stop it from happening? Now, prevention is like you have PIN code and so on. Yeah, deterrence is like having a CCTV camera. Okay, so having a CCTV camera is not going to stop you from doing it, but you know, like if I have a PIN code, you definitely cannot get into it. So that's prevention. Deterrence is like a CCTV camera. If I know I have a if I know there's a CCTV camera, I don't dare to do it. Okay, so can an auditor take up a deterrence role? Can we do the deterrence role? Okay, so we can't also, because we are at the post stage again. Yeah, okay, we are always in the historical part, but you have to remember, yeah, that audit itself, the audit, the service that they are providing itself can be a form of deterrence in the audit, but not the auditor's responsibility. Okay, so can we involve in detection? Yes, but we have what type of responsibility? We only have secondary responsibility. Who have the primary responsibility to identify fraud? Who have the primary responsibility? Yes, management is the one who's supposed to identify the fraud. Okay, so now how do we identify the fraud, or how can we detect the fraud? By just doing secondary responsibility. Okay, so first of all, as part of audit, we are going to do risk assessment procedure. We try to look out for any fraud risk or not. Okay, what is a fraud risk? We look out for, is there any pressure, any opportunity, any rationalization for someone to commit the fraud. Okay, number one, perform risk assessment procedure. Then we're going to design appropriate audit procedures. Okay, so yeah, okay, so you want to design an audit procedure which is relevant. Yeah, okay, so now let's say I doubt there is a fraud in purchases. Okay, so I doubt there is a what is this? Fraud in purchases. So make sure that I have to look out for the relevant documents. Okay, so I think there is fictitious purchases is made, which is not for the company. So what I do is I look out for the relevant purchase invoice. Okay, so I'll see the address of the supplier. I look out for whether there is any purchase order have been done by the company or not. Now, if we have recognized purchases, mean there should be the goods receipt notes. So I have to do an appropriate audit procedure to look out for evidence for the fraud. Okay, so now that's the second part of doing it, so that you can fulfill the responsibility. Okay, third one is always exercise professional skepticism. Look out for, is there any, okay, so what is professional skepticism? Professional skepticism means that you always want to exercise questioning. You always have a questioning mind. You are always being be alert. Okay, and third one is that at all time you are going to perform critical assessment. Okay, so basically the auditor must have the extra eye. Yeah, they cannot be like a normal person. They have to always be more aware, more you know, like we watch sometimes police movies, right? We cannot think of it, but the police will think of. Okay, so our auditor have to be something like that. They should think way better than the one who's committing the fraud. Okay, then only you can identify. Okay, and apart from being skeptical, apart from coming up with the appropriate audit procedures, at all time you come back to your audit team members, do a discussion. Okay, because sometimes the manipulation can be only identified when there is a discussion happen. Because in an audit team, right, you don't do all the items in one go. Okay, like I said, you don't do everything in the financial statement, all the items. There'll be a junior who's doing certain part of the accounts, and then you have another senior who's doing another part of the account. So you have to come back in as in audit team members, make some discussion. Maybe out of the discussion, the person could also highlight, hey, yeah, I suspected this, or you also think so. Okay, so you know, something like that. You must always have discussion. And the fifth one is obtain written representation from management, telling that they have disclosed all the fraud that they are aware of. Okay, so this is for you to identify the risk. Okay, because you have a detection role, which is a secondary responsibility. Okay, now the reason why it is your secondary responsibility is because when you give your opinion, right, your opinion is financial statement is free from material misstatement and due to fraud and error. Okay, so basically you are giving some reasonable assurance, isn't it, that it is free from material misstatement due to fraud and error. So obviously in your process you have to obtain that level of assurance, and to obtain that assurance you have to perform all the items that is mentioned here. Okay, now assuming you have already identified it now, okay, so you have to do CCIC. Okay, so what is CCIC means, right? The action when the fraud is already found. Okay, number one, you're supposed to confirm it. Okay, confirm it. Yeah, you solve that and you want to really confirm it, make it a strong one. Okay, so for example, you increase the sample size. Okay, so you have to confirm it. Now second one is that you have to go and communicate it. Okay, so who do I communicate to when I found fraud? Who do I tell to you? Tell, yeah? Do I go and tell to my who?
The one charged with the governance.
Yeah, the first one that we will tell, depending on who did it. Yeah, if let's say it's employee, I will go and tell management first. Okay, so tell to the management first if it's done by employee. But if it's committed by management, then you go and tell to those charged with governance. If let's say it's no, it's not done by those charged with governance. Yeah, okay. So now once we communicate to management and those charged with governance, there's something else that we need to do. We will need to include this matter in our management letter. Okay, because the reason why this fraud is happening, because there is a deficiency in internal control. Okay, a fraud can happen because it's the deficiency in internal control. He had the opportunity to do it. He had the he had the, like the internal control allowed him to commit it. So which means it need to be included in management letter as an internal control deficiency. Okay. So when you communicate to management those charged with governance and in the management letter. Okay. Then you want to consider about what will be the implication to audit report. Okay. Because there is a fraud, isn't it? So you want to consider whether there is a need for you to modify the audit report. Is there any need for you to provide an adverse audit report? Okay. So consider about what is the implication to the audit report. Okay. And also, let's say, those charged with governance don't want to act on it. Okay. So you may want to consider about what is wrong with these people. Okay. The integrity of the client. Okay. And if let's say you already found the fraud and they don't want to make changes, go and obtain a written representation on their intent. Okay. On their intention that they don't want to change it. Okay. Now, finally, on the continuance. Okay. So you found out that item and you have reported it and they don't react to it. You may want to save yourself and not continue with the job. Okay. Because what you saw could be just 1%. Whereas 99% of item that is not being identified, and now those charged with governance is supporting this situation. Okay. So you may want to consider about continuance, and okay, you may decide on continuance based on the integrity. Okay. Integrity of the client. Okay, so your action when you have found a fraud is CCIC. Okay, so we still have a little bit time. Let's go and try one question. Okay, so this is a Goodman group. Okay, so let's go and do this question, very quickly. Okay, so hope you all are not tired yet. Yeah. Okay, so this is a 6 marks question. Discuss the implication of fraud for the completion of audit and the action to be taken by the auditor. Okay, so we're supposed to discuss the implication of fraud to the completion of audit and the action that need to be taken by the auditor. Okay, so let's go and look at, we need 6 marks. Yeah. Okay, now let's go and look at the question. Okay, so it is 1st July 2025. You work in an audit department of Shaul and Co. So the Goodman group is an audit client of your firm, and the audit for the financial year ended 31st December 2024 is in the completion stage. Okay, so the group which is not listed install and maintain security system for businesses and residential customers. So basically, what is their service? They actually go and install the like the alarm system and all those things for businesses and also residential customers. Okay, now materiality for the audit of the group financial statement have been determined to be 400. Okay, so they have determined the materiality level. Yeah, you are reviewing the audit working paper and have gathered the following information. Okay, so the group finance data has informed the audit team that during the year a fraud have been carried out by a manager, Mike Trout. Okay, so who's telling? Finance director is telling to you. So who's done it is an employee. Okay, so in one of the group procurement department, so the manager had raised fictitious supplier invoices and paid the invoice amount into his personal account. Okay, so see what he's done. He raised fictitious supplier invoices, so purchases. Yeah, he made purchases and paid this amount for these invoices to his own personal account. Okay, when questioned by the group finance director, Mike Trout. Okay, so he confessed that he had stolen 40,000 from the group. Okay, so now who's telling this? The Venturi itself telling. Yeah. He confessed he has stolen 40,000. Okay, so finance director asked the audit team not to perform any procedure in relation to the fraud because the amount is immaterial. Okay, so it's very funny. I suspected something is wrong. Would I go to the auditor and say, hey, don't do anything about it, ignore? It doesn't sound right, isn't it? Okay, so what do you think, yeah? For a finance director to say ignore it, what could happen? No, you don't have any point about it. Now, isn't it possible that, yeah, correct. Possible, yes, correct. It could be more than 40,000. It could be he is the one, the main character. You know, we see so many movies until we have to supposed to suspect every single individual. Yeah, okay. So we don't know, yeah. How come you can accept it that the Venturi come and tell I take 40,000? Okay. How to believe, yeah? Okay. So he also stated that the financial statement would not be adjusted in relation to the fraud. Make things worse. He don't want to adjust. Okay, so something very fishy about it, yeah. He doesn't want to adjust. Okay, and the only audit evidence in the file is a written representation from management acknowledging the existence of fraud and list of fictitious invoices that have been raised by manager. Okay, so provided by finance director. Okay, so the audit working paper concluded that fraud is immaterial and no further work is needed. So whoever who have done this audit is also not right, yeah, because he can conclude it as like a shortcut like that. He doesn't want to do any other further work. So this is totally wrong. Okay, now let's go and discuss what are the things that we need to do. Okay, so I'll just continue in the page that I was doing just now so that I can just give you the answer later. Yeah. Now this is on a Goodman group. Okay, this is on fraud. Let's do this as a last question for today. Okay, so Goodman's group. Okay, so they are asking us to discuss on what are the further things that need to be done. Okay, so what are the implications of this fraud and also what will be the action to be taken by the auditor. Okay, so now the question is, are they asking me to identify or the fraud has already been identified? Yeah, the fraud is already been. Okay, so fraud is already been identified, isn't it? Sorry, yeah, very hot. Okay, it's already been identified. So if it's already been identified, then we are going to confirm it. Okay, then we're going to communicate it. Okay, then we're going to look into what is the implication to audit report. Okay, and then we want to consider whether we want to continue with this line or not. Something is wrong. The finance director is continuance. Okay, so these are the things that we want to discuss. Okay, now the fact that it is 6 marks, we'll see which is relevant and which is irrelevant. Yeah. Okay, so let's confirm first. Okay, now the audit team. Okay, so the audit team have merely obtained the written representation. Okay, from management acknowledging the existence of the fraud. Okay, with the list of fictitious invoices. Okay, so invoices are stating that fraud is immaterial. Okay, so this is my observation about the issue. Yeah, so I have to talk about this is not right. Okay, because how can you just say it is immaterial when you don't have any evidence to it? Okay, who is telling you 40,000? The person who have done it. Okay, so you are trusting someone who is actually Venturi. Yeah, okay, so now you want to say this is insufficient. Okay, insufficient. Okay, and we want to comment. Yeah, on its own. Okay, the auditor would not know the extent of the fraud. Okay, so you will not know the extent of the fraud and whether it is material or not. Okay, so the actual fraud could be more than 40,000. Okay, so this one is I have to confirm it. Okay, so now next one I want to go and communicate. Okay, let me just add on a little bit. Okay, because I want to tell what need to be done here because they asked us to do. Okay, so the auditor need to perform further procedure. Okay, to for example, okay, testing on samples, okay, of the purchases to identify, okay, if there is any other items, okay, involving the fraud, okay, that should be fine. Okay, so now let's look at continuance. Communication. Okay, so do I need to communicate to the management? Do I need to? I communicate already. No need. Yeah. So now I want to communicate to those charged with governance. I don't need to communicate to management already because he already aware about it. Okay, so I'll go in and communicate with those charged with governance. Okay, so I to inform those charged with governance. Okay, about the 40,000 fraud in the purchasing. Okay, so in the purchasing to help them to understand the seriousness. Okay, so understand the seriousness of the issue. Ask what will be their plan. Okay, so what will be their plan to rectify the situation. Okay, and ask them to conduct. Okay, so ask them to conduct their own investigation. Okay, investigation and ascertain the financial impact of the fraud. Okay, so now these are the keywords. Yeah, we want to highlight. These are all things that you can use here. Standardized sentence when you communicate with those charged with governance. Yeah. Okay, so you want them to understand the seriousness of the issue. You want them to rectify the situation. You want to ask them to conduct their own investigation and also ascertain the financial impact of the fraud. Okay, so these are all keywords. Okay, now apart from communicating with those charged with governance, we will need to communicate to them in the form of management letter because this is a significant deficiency. Okay, so this is a significant deficiency. Okay, so this is a significant deficiency. The management letter should be sent to management. Okay, so should be sent to management and those charged with governance. Okay, yeah, those charged with governance. Okay, so charged with governance and the letter, okay, should explain the internal control deficiency. Okay, so deficiency and to warn that this could happen in other companies in the group. Okay, because this is a group of companies, so probably now group happen means probably the other subsidiaries also will have it. Okay, so could happen in other other companies in the group and discuss about the implication. Okay, so implication of the deficiency. Okay, deficiency and the recommendation to improve. Okay, so recommendation to improve the internal control should also be included in the management letter. Okay, so this one is also a standardized answer when it comes to management letter. Okay, so you have to explain what is the internal control deficiency and you have to talk about what is the implication of the deficiency and recommendation. Okay, so these are the keywords for management letter. Okay, so now once done with communicate, right, we want to talk about implication to the audit report. Okay, so implication to the audit report is for me is even more serious matter here because the finance director. Okay, so the finance director asked the team. Okay, so asked the team not to investigate. Okay, so not to investigate the fraud. Okay, so which is very odd. Yeah, so this is odd. Okay, so the finance director should be the one interested. Okay, because it is his office. Yeah, this thing is happening. Okay, so someone is fooling him and he chooses to ignore. Doesn't make sense. Okay, so the FD should be the one who's interested to find out. Okay, so to find out if the fraud is being done elsewhere. Okay, elsewhere in the procurement. Okay, in the procurement department. Okay, so seeing that the internal control. Okay, in one of the procurement. Okay, so procurement departments should be similar to the internal control in another company. Okay, in the group. Okay, so now yeah, it is this. Okay, so this one is all funny. Yeah, you don't want to do it. Okay, so you want to say the FD may be complicit. Okay, in the person complot. Yeah, in the fraud. Okay, so the fraud may be more than 40,000. Okay, so maybe more than 40,000 and the purchases. Okay, so the purchases may be overstated. Okay, so the management integrity. Okay, so the management integrity may be in doubt. Yeah, okay, so I doubt the management integrity, and then the audit team should be careful. Okay, so should be careful to evaluate the evidence. Okay, so evidence are provided by the FD. Okay, so including the reliability of written representation. Okay, so now you see, like, if the person is having lack of integrity, right, whatever that they previously provided, for example, like written representation is from their word, right, we may need to doubt it already. Okay, last one on the continuance of the report. Okay, so if the those charged with governance, okay, cite the FT. Okay, so also tell and only ignore it's immaterial, all right, and refuse to lift the management imposed limitation, okay, because it's stopping me to do further job, right? Okay, so refuse to lift the management imposed limitation. The firm should consider, okay, yes, because it's already halfway, we will tell that you should complete this audit, okay, and consider, okay, that seriously whether they should, okay, whether they should offer themselves for reappointment. Okay, so whether the reappointment or the following year. Okay, so need to consider it. Okay, so that is all for the 6 marks that you will need to write for the what is this? The action, for the action that need to be taken for this fraud case. Okay, so looking at the question again, yeah, implication of the fraud and also action to be taken. Okay, so these are all the implication. Because of this, I'm going to do more procedures. Okay, I'm going to communicate it. That's my action. Okay, and then my implication or to the audit report is all the things that we discuss here. And the implication of this is probably I need to discuss about or consider about to get reappointed or not. Okay, so that is all that I think we'll do today. Okay, so what I will do is I have already discussed with you. Hold on, yeah, that's a question. Yes, I will upload it. I'll put it as day one answer. Okay, but give me time. I want to put in the other answers. Okay, so I will combine it in one folder for all the other answers that I asked you to do, and you can refer to that. Yeah. Okay, so you have one question for the ethics, and then another question on acceptance. Okay, fraud. I only wanted to discuss this one question. Okay, so now when you come back on Saturday, we'll start with NOCLA. Okay, so we have NOCLA, money laundering, professional skepticism, and then we are done with this notes. Then we will go and look into the next part. Okay, so for Saturday, let me just tell to you upfront so that you will be more prepared. Yeah. Okay, so for Saturday, we will start off with this part of the syllabus. Okay, business risk, audit risk. Okay, I wanted to do the long question 1, yeah, Hammer Co and N Co. This 2 questions I want to do. The other 2 I'll give you answers. Okay, so now I'm going to do part 1 for Saturday. Okay, because it's a longer section. We can do this including the balance that we haven't covered for today, the NOCLA and the money laundering and so on. Okay, so part 1 and the balance there is on Saturday. Okay, so I've uploaded notes. Yeah, there is notes for business risk. There is notes for risk of material misstatement. Hammer Co and N Co I will upload the questions because it's not in BPP. It's in the practice platform. New questions. This one. Okay, that's all for today.
Right, thank you so much.
Welcome. Bye bye. Have a good night.